Hey guys, it's Yvette, and here I am ready to start week 2 for the Fort Worth Fabric Studios Ultimate Picnic Quilt. This is a mystery quilt, so you guys don't know how it's going to end, and it's very exciting. I'm telling you guys, you're going to love it. It's absolutely gorgeous. So this week we are going to be making some large half square triangle blocks, and I'm like super excited to get started, so let's go. All right, so these are all of the fabrics that we cut in week 1 that are meant for week 2 for us to put all of our large half square triangle blocks together. These fabrics are the ones we're using. So we are going to take 2A and 2C of the 9 by 9 inch squares. So that is these two. And I think we have 2 of each on these. Yeah, 2 and 2. Okay, so we'll take this whole stack. Everything else I'm just going to scooch over for right now so we can get started on those. Okay, so these are ready. I'm going to go ahead and take the labels off. Okay, it says that we're going to take these and we're going to create some half square triangle blocks. Each set of squares will yield 4 half square triangle blocks. So we're going to place these squares right sides together, one of each. So it'll be like this. Okay. I probably don't have to make them perfect right now. Y'all know how I am. Okay. Okay, so then we are going to stitch a 1/4 inch around all the sides. So all the way around all 4 sides, we're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then we are going to cut them diagonally this way and this way. And that will give us 4 half square triangles out of each one. So let's get that part done first. We will come back and go to the next step in that situation. Okay. Okay, so I have stitched all the way around both of these squares, and we are now going to cut them diagonally this way and this way to get 4 half square triangles out of each one. So let's get started on that. And let's see, actually, is that one good? Nope, not long enough. Okay. So I was just going to show you, and let's see, can I do it on this one? Yeah, okay. So if you have a Creative Grids or any ruler that is big enough for this square, then all you have to do is take some sort of diagonal line and you'll place it right up against one of the sides. And You just want to line it right up to the edge, not the seam allowance, but the very edge of the square. And you'll just pull it down a little bit until you have just that little corner sticking out. You don't want to go directly to the edge. Well, you could, because actually, and look, it's not even going to go across. But that's going to be in the thing we can get off of that. And if you don't, then guys, just eyeball it, really. It's not that big a deal. I'm just trying to give you, like, some ways to use your rulers, since we all have so many rulers, and you're going, what do I do with this ruler? And so then you can just cut diagonally. If you go slow enough, you'll be okay with a really funky angle like this. And then you just want to do it the other way, and obviously it would be better if I had it like on a rotating something, but it's all right. It'll be okay. I'll just match it up with my eyeballs, and it will work just fine. Do, 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 do. How y'all going? Just wondering. I'm okay. What runs through your mind while you're cutting and stuff like that? I personally listen to, well, if I'm not recording what I'm doing, I will listen to Audible. I listen to books on Audible all the time. And just want to make sure I'm kind of, yep, that's good. Okay, that's the first one. And since really my ruler's not long enough anyhow, I think I'll just do the other one just with a ruler. And let's see, if I put it, yeah, I think if I do it that way, wow, that's going to be just like the other one. That's all right. So if I'm using just a ruler like this, I could still use one of these lines here, but the ruler is, you know, you would have to have like a longer one, which is fine. Wait a minute, I do have a longer one. Hold up. I'm just going to pull every ruler out that I got. Okay, so I can see I've got this, this line here, and I know it says 45, but really we're just using it to get a straight line on the edge of the square, and it doesn't have to go the whole way down. It can just line up with it. And the 45 is actually what you want anyway, because that's what you're cutting. So I'm going to take this line and I'm going to just line it up with the edge of the ruler, of the square, and go up just a little bit. And you'll just move the ruler this way along that line and along the edge of the square, just so that your ruler gets right to the top point. And then you'll see that it'll go right down to the bottom point. And then all you have to do is cut after that. Oops, that was the ruler. It didn't touch me. I'm good, guys. Everything's okay. Okay. And then we'll just do it on this one. It's the same thing. We're just going to run that line right up against the side of the square. I think it might have moved a little bit. Yes, it did. Stinker. I was like, it's not running up against the thing. Why don't get it? Hi, Jelly Bean. Hurry up, go. Okay, and it is a little bit off over here, but that's because this moved a little. So as long as you're going across diagonally and it looks right, it'll be fine. Okay, so now I am going to take all 8 of these, and I'm going to go and I'm going to press them to the dark side so that we can then use our block lock ruler to cut these down to, I think they're 5.5 inches square. Let me double check that. Yes, 5.5 inches square on all of these. So I'm going to go press them and be right back. Okay, so I have pressed these half square triangles to the dark side, and we are ready to trim these down. We are going to trim them down to 5.5 inches square. Okay, so since I have pressed to the dark side, this is where the lip is, And with the Bloc Lock ruler, you want to make sure that the Bloc Lock logo is on the opposite side of which direction your fabric is pressed to. Okay, so I'm going to put it down here. And as you can see, it butts up against the seam and it doesn't move. Or it doesn't move past the seam. See, I could just push it around and it would just push it against the seam. Okay, so once we have that in place, we are going to trim these down to 5.5 inches. So here and to here, right? Okay, you want to make sure that when you're making your first cut, that the square is going to show that it is still larger than 5.5, because we want to trim this side and we also want to trim this side. So you need to leave a little extra down on this side while you're trimming that part. And this is just so that we can get the whole square very uniform. And, you know, we cut the little lips off and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to pull this down, and 5.5 would be right here and right here. And since we still have some fabric on the other side of that, that's where I'm going to leave it. And I'll just trim off that little bit there. Okay. And then all we have to do is turn it around. And then I'm going to just pull it down again. And then again, if you're going to pull it all, you want to just pull toward the fabric that you have pressed toward so that the lip stays caught on there. And now we're actually going to bring it to the 5.5 and the 5.5. Okay, so that looks good right there. Okay, so we have one that's done, and I'm just going to continue along. Okay, so I have all of my half square triangles trimmed to 5.5 inches square. And let's see. Okay, so now we're on to number 2. We're going to use F and G, which are the 12.5 inch squares that we have, and we are going to create some more half square triangle blocks. Okay, so these are the two 12.5 inch squares, and what we are going to do is we are going to, it looks like we're going to put them right sides together. I'm making sure I'm reading that right. Okay, we're going to put them right sides together. And I like to just flip it over and make sure that it looks good from all sides. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Looks nice and even to me. Okay, and then it says we are going to draw lines corner to corner and stitch 1/4 inch on either side of the drawn lines. Okay, so this is what they mean. I'm going to need that long ruler again. And let's see, I'm just going to scooch these over there for a second. And I'm just going to draw a line right down the middle first. And then we want a line 1/4 inch on either side. And these lines, the ones that are on either side, are the ones that we're going to stitch down. And there are specialty rulers, like somebody had asked me about a ruler that you can use that has the, I think what it is it has like a hole down the middle for you to draw the line down the middle, and then it's only wide enough that there's 1/4 inch on either side, so then basically you're not moving it around. There are rulers like that. I think I even have one, but guys, there's no way. I couldn't find anything in this room, and and I don't think that there's anything wrong with just doing it this way. A lot of times tools basically just make things easier. Just like I showed you with the block lock. You don't actually need a block lock, but did you see how much easier it was? I mean, it just is. Sometimes tools will make things a bit easier. Sometimes, in my opinion, they don't, but a lot of times they do. Like, they make sense. And the ruler that I was telling you about that I can't find in my room, I do like it. I find them sometimes a little awkward is all, because it's such a skinny little ruler. On a little square, it's fine, but I think on a big one like this, and honestly, I don't even know if they make them for the big one like this, but I just would feel that it was just a bit awkward to keep control of such a long ruler. Anyway, but everybody has their own opinion, and it's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. And we all have our own ways of doing things, so, that's okay too. Okay, now since this is so big, like it's a big square and you're trying to hold on to it, what I like to do is I'm just going to put some binder clips. I always say binder clips. And put these Wonder Clips on, and basically it's just to hold the pieces together so they don't move. That's the only reason. And then I can carry it over to the sewing machine, carry it anywhere I need it really, without having to worry about it's going to shift or... And you can use pins, really, or don't use anything. I mean, seriously, it's up to you. I just find it easier, and it's less stressful because I don't have to worry about something moving. And so I do it. Plus, I don't know, I just like the Wonder Clips. I like them a lot. Okay, so I'm going to go over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to sew this line on the outside and this line on the outside, and then I'm going to sew this line and this line, both of the ones on the outside. When we come back, we are going to cut this, and it's going to end up into, let's see, what does it say? We'll have a total of 8 half square triangles. So let's go do the sewing, and we'll come right back and do the cutting. Okay, so we have done all of our sewing, and now it's time to cut these into 8 half square triangles. So I'm going to take my wonder clips off. Like, my hands aren't big enough to hold everything. Okay. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to cut diagonally here, and then we're also going to cut right down the middle here and down the middle here. So the first thing I'm going to do, because these lines are drawn on, I'm going to do these cuts first, because I can always end up doing those separately, and that's not going to be a problem. So the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to make sure that my ruler is right at the middle point there. And then on the sides, I want to make sure that they are lining up with the lines on my ruler. All right, so that looks good there. And it looks good in the middle, maybe a little bit higher. Sorry, I know that my big old head is like in the way right there. Okay, so that looks good to me. I'm going to make that cut. Okay. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing up and down. All right, that looks good. And now all I really need to do is make sure that my 1/4 inch line here is on one of these sewn lines, and then I know I'll be directly up and down the middle. Okay, and that actually looks good. It doesn't look like anything moved. Maybe a tiny bit right there. I'm just going to try to manipulate it the tiniest bit. Actually, I think it looks fine. And it does not have to be perfect, because that's, you know, it's just going to move your seam allowance a little bit is all it'll do. Okay, and then the last cut. Okay. All right, so now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so guys, I've had a long day at work today, and I can smell that Jim is making dinner. So I'm going to go and have dinner, and I will continue back with this tomorrow. So next time you see me, it'll be just a second for you, but it'll have been like 24 hours for me. Well, maybe a little less. 22? I'll see you guys in a minute. Okay, guys, so I'm back. I have the pieces that we cut out, and I have pressed them. I pressed all of mine toward the blue stripe fabric, but probably either way is fine. It's not really going to make that much of a difference. And I did that so that I could use the Bloc ruler to show you again how it works. So with the Bloc ruler, we are going to cut these down to 5.5 inch squares. So I'll take the first one. And what you need to remember is whichever fabric you pressed toward. Now this is, for me, I've just found this easier to remember, is I put the fabric that I pressed toward to the top left, and then the Bloc logo should go on the opposite fabric. And when you do that and you push up toward the fabric, toward your top fabric, it's gonna lock there. See, it's not moving. I can pull it down, like if I push it down, but then once I push it again, it's going to stop right there there's a little lip on the bottom that holds it in place. Okay, so when you're going to trim, you are going to trim everything on two sides at a time, right? So we're going to be trimming here. And what I'm doing is I'm going to look to these two spots to make sure that I'm over 5.5 inches, because I want to leave a little bit that I can then trim from this side. That way we're trimming all the way around all four sides and getting a nice clean square. So I'll probably leave it about right there. Really doesn't matter as long as you are more than 5.5 inches. So the 5.5 inches, sorry, is here and right here. So I have something that I can cut. Well, I'll probably actually go a little bit smaller just because there's not a whole lot of waste there. Okay, so it's still good. This is the 5.5 and this is the 5.5. And you can see that there is fabric on either side of the 5.5 that we are going to trim. And then we have this to trim. So we know that all four sides are going to be cleanly trimmed. Okay. And then I'll just scooch that out. I'll twist this around. If you don't have a rotary, it's fine. You can turn your fabric. It's not going to hurt anything. And then I'm going to just pull it back down with my little lip here pressing against the seam. And now I want to go to the 5.5 inch line, which is right there and right here. So we're ready to trim. Okay, and now we have a perfectly square 5.5 inch square. Okay, so I'm just going to scooch these over and then I will continue to do these and you can watch me do that. Okay, so I have these squares done, and I also have these squares done, and they're both 5.5 inch square. Oh, got a little red thing on there. So let's move on to the next step, which is number 3. And we are going to use H and I 7-inch squares to create some half square triangle blocks. Okay, so let me get those. And that's these right here. Okay. Oops. That was funny. All right. So what we're going to do with these is we are going to put these right sides together. And then on the back of this fabric, we are going to draw a diagonal line from corner to corner. And then we're going to draw another line on either side of that, just like we've been doing this whole time. And we are going to stitch down the 2 lines that are on either side of the diagonal line in the middle. And then when we come back, we're going to trim down the line in the middle. And that will give us 2 half square triangles, which will end up giving us 4 altogether. And then again, we are going to trim all those blocks to 5.5 inch square. So let's get these prepared. Okay, so I have stitched a line down each side of the middle diagonal line, and now we are going to cut the two half square triangles apart by trimming down that line. But first I'm just going to take these off, and I just put these on just so that I can carry the piece around like from here to my machine, and I don't have to worry about it moving, and I don't have to replace it and all that kind of stuff. So really that's the only reason I do it. No other reason than that. Okay, so all I'm going to do is either line that I stitched down, doesn't matter which side, but I'm going to put my 1/4 inch line on that stitched line, and then that will get me to trim at a 1/4 inch. It just means that you don't have to, you know, remeasure and all that kind of stuff. If you just use that line, it's good enough. Off a little bit. Not that that really matters all that much either, but okay. Okay, so all I'm going to do now is I'm going to head over to the ironing board, and I will probably press my seams toward the darker color. I mean, that one's, you know, it doesn't really matter which, but I'll just choose the darker color. And so if you put whichever fabric it is you're going to press toward on top, then when you flip it over, it will automatically, you know, you'll be pressing toward that color. So just remember that if you keep the fabric that you're pressing toward on top, it'll press that way. Okay, so I'll be right back. Okay, so I have pressed these toward my little blue roses, and now I will pull my block lock and my rotary thing over here. Oops, I'm trying to like organize things. Okay, so again, just like we've done a couple times before, we are going to take our piece of fabric and we are going to put the fabric that we pressed toward on the top left, and we're going to take the block lock logo and put it to the other side. And again, we are trimming these down to 5.5 inch squares, just like the others. Okay, so I now have these 4 squares and all of these that we made, and lots of cat hair. You guys have no idea how many of, if I can get it off, these guys I go through. Now I pick up all sorts of things, you know, obviously loose threads and whatnot, but I also have to take lots of cat hair off with these as well. They come in real handy, is all I'm saying. Okay, so our next step, we might as well move these over because we're making some little strips first. So I will do that. And okay, so we are going to need 10 A rectangles that measure at 2 inches by 5.5 inches, and 1 B square and 4 K squares to make the sashing. Okay, so we have the K, we have the B, we have all the A's, and okay, so it looks like we're going to have 4 strips that are made with the K, and 1 that's going to be made with the B. So we'll take the A's, and here's what we're going to do with them. it says that we're going to use 10 of these. So we're going to still have some left because we're going to make the sash for the middle, and then the ones on the tops and bottoms are still going to be here for us to attach to the squares that we make. Okay, so let's just lay them out. 1, 2, buckle my shoe. Don't ask, guys. I haven't even had lunch yet. Oh my goodness, with the cat hair. Okay, sorry. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so I'm going to set these aside, and I'm going to take the B and put them up there. And then I have the K's, and I'm going to put those between the rest of them. Okay, so the way that we are going to join these is we are going to make 5 strips, and we are going to take the first middle square, turn it over, right sides together, and we are going to sew a 1/4 inch seam right down that side. Sorry, my husband is on a conference call downstairs. Okay, so on all of these, we are going to sew a seam 1/4 inch from this edge, and then we are going to press those, and then once they are pressed, we'll come back and we'll take these and put it right sides together for the rest of the strip, and then we'll sew that 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now, once I have all those ready, I will come back and we will start putting together our big squares. Okay, so here are the finished sashes that are going to go in the middle of the 5 blocks that we are going to make. So I'm going to just put these aside for a moment while we finish up the tops and bottoms of the 5 squares. Okay, so we have a little diagram of how they're going to go together, and let me just put them in the right place. Okay, so these are the FG squares, and these are going to be used for 4 of the squares that we're going to make. So I'm going to lay them out the way they are in the diagram. So that one goes there, and this one goes like this, and okay, that's all for those. And then we're going to take the AC squares, and let's see, that's these guys. Okay, so this will go here, and this will go there. Let me make sure that's right. That's the twisted floral blue, the white on white, the blue diagonal stripes, and the roses on white. Okay, now we are going to make 4 of these. So I'm just going to lay them out so that I'll have all of them ready. And you can do this however you want. This is just how I prefer to lay it out. I'll just have them, like all of the blocks, ready to sew together is what I'm going to do. Okay, and then I'm going to take the others like this and I'm going to lay them out the way they're supposed to be. Okay, so these are all laid out, and then for the last square, we're going to use all of these here. So the blue roses are going to go top left and also top right over here. And then the blue roses will go down like that and down like that. Okay, so all 5 of my squares are laid out how they are going to be put together. Now, all of the strips that we have left of the white are going to go right in the middle like this. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'll put those there. And then these 5 will go here. So what we are going to do is we are going to sew these together in rows just like we did these. Okay, so that means you're going to take one of the white strips and you're going to fold it right sides together with the left side. We will stitch a 1/4 inch seam allowance here. Then we'll come and we'll press it, and then we'll take the other side and we will put it right sides together this way, and then sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance there. And we're going to do that with all of these rows and all of these rows. And when I have that done, I'll come back and then we will add the middle strip to the squares. Okay, so I have all of my strips put together, and I just sort of pulled these up and down. So you can see that's the number 5, which we have 1 of those squares and 4 of the others. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are just going to join the top to the middle to the bottom in the same way we did the rows. So I'm going to, and this is the only one with the red square, and that goes with the one that is by itself as well. So we'll take this one and we will flip it right sides together with this piece, and then after we press it, then we will flip this one over and do the seam there. Now let me show you real quick how I would put those together, because we do have those seams to match up, and I know a lot of people wonder about how you make sure. Okay, so it's very awkward for me to work with it on the bottom here, so I'm just going to flip it over so that it's a little easier for me to work with. Okay, so what you're going to do, and you know, it's quite possible that you did not press the seams in a way that they are gonna go opposite, and so you can nest them and all that kind of stuff. So what I do is I will line them up where the seam is, where this is going to be the seam that we're going to sew. I line them up right on the edge, and then I just flip back this top piece, and I want to make sure that the seam is in the exact same spot. This one needs to move over just a tad bit. And oh, I might have gone a little too far. And it's a good idea to make sure that you're getting this right, because see, now that's pretty much perfect right there. So now what I'm going to do is I would put a wonder clip right there so it doesn't move while I'm working on the other one. Okay, then I'm going to pull this one back, and it's pretty much right where it needs to be. So I'm just going to put another little wonder clip right there. And now I'm going to, see, I mark my seams. If you don't, then you are all set to go and start sewing, okay? But for me, I mark my seams. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to mark them on this side. Okay, and after I mark that, I'm going to put some clips so that everything stays where I want it to be. Okay, and now I'm going to take this clip off. I could probably take them both off and then I'll put them back, because it hasn't moved. Mostly you're going to have an issue with things moving when you are like heading over to the sewing machine. That's what I find. Pretty much until then you'll be fine, but I'll just recheck them before I put the pin back. Okay, so before I put this one back, okay, it hasn't moved, so I'm going to stick that one there. And that looks perfect. So I'm gonna put that one back there. And then, like I always say, personally, I just prefer if while I'm right here, I just get everything lined up exactly like I want it, and then just clip it. That way, once I get to the machine, I don't have to worry. I can just sit down and start to sew. And you do not have to use wonder clips. If you want to use pins, if that's what you prefer, you can go ahead and do that. All right, so that's how I set mine up, and I'm gonna get all of these ready and head over to the sewing machine. And when I come back, everything will be together. We'll have all our blocks, and hopefully this has answered any questions you would have had of putting these blocks together. If not, you can put it down in the comments, and I'll be sure to get back to you. But when I come back, we'll have all of our blocks, and I'm so excited. Okay, so I have finished the squares and I'm very happy with them. I think they look great. I'm loving how it all looks together, and I can't wait to see how it's gonna come together. So if you have any questions about these blocks, please go ahead and leave a comment down below. I do try to get to every single comment. I read them all, and I try to read them and answer any questions in a timely manner. However, it is just me by myself, so if you don't hear right away, please, be patient and I will get back to you. And for those of you who are sewing with different fabric and didn't buy the kit, I just have to tell you, I am enjoying so much seeing your blocks on the Facebook page. So please keep posting them. I really enjoy them, and have a great time sewing, and I'll see you next week.